Junji Ito, Kazuo Umezu, Hideshi Hino. These are some of the names you'll find listed if you look for horror manga recommendations. These artists alone have enough translated work out there to last you quite a while, but as you read through the commonly referenced horror manga, you may find yourself wanting something different. This is where today's author comes in, Ochazuke Nori. Born in 1960, Ochazuke Nori has been producing manga since 1984, nearly 40 years so far. In this time, he has crafted 36 separate horror titles, some spanning dozens of chapters each. Nori has developed a cult following for his work in Japan and is highly respected for his unique, loose-flowing art style, which manages to somehow skirt the line between old school and extremely modern with relative ease. Despite his prolific career, only 2 titles of his have been scanlated in the West, both by the Slug Chicks scanlation group, and none of his works have been published in English. I first found Ochazuke Nori when I had completely run out of horror manga to read. I read all the Ito, all the Hino, and all of the usually recommended works like Seeds of Anxiety and Frank and Fran. I was poking around looking at every single title I could find that was labeled as horror, hoping I could find something interesting buried down there. And one of the titles I found was the Horror Mansion series, which was Ochazuke Nori's first title in the horror genre. I was absolutely blown away, and quickly read everything that has been translated up to that point in one sitting. Ochazuke Nori is an absolute master of cinematic, expressive scenes of dramatic terror. His art style is loose and often cartoonish, which only adds to the impact of just how much emotion he is able to squeeze out of the faces of every character, as their simple expressions find reason to twist and contort into absolute terror. If the art style's soft and minimalistic approach made you think that his work might be on the lighter side of the horror spectrum, oh boy, were you wrong. Some of the scenes depicted in these volumes consist of the most gruesome murders, grotesque creatures, and downright invasive, anxiety-inducing ends that a person could face. Gory, emotional murder? Check. Terrifying insect creatures laying eggs inside of hapless humans? Check. A disease that spreads to passengers on an airplane, causing their heads to explode? Check. Insane, homicidal Santa Claus? Check. There is nowhere this author is afraid to go in order to get a scare out of you. One of my favorite things about horror manga in general is the incredible artistry. Whether it's Junji Ito's beautiful characters, Hideshi Hino's manic ramblings, Shigeru Mizuki's lush backgrounds, or Shintaro Kago's fourth-dimensional insanity. Each author brings their own unique vision to the table, making the genre feel less like just another type of manga and more a hub for genuine works of art, which transcend the basic story they're trying to tell. Ochazuke Nori is no exception to this trend, and his work flows from panel to panel with such cinematic beauty that it feels less like reading a comic and more like watching a movie. In fact, Ochazuke Nori is also a film director, having directed a number of Japanese horror films, so it comes as no surprise that he has such mastery over movement, shadow, and composition. If you're interested in checking out Ochazuke Nori's work, I would highly suggest starting with his first horror series, Horror Mansion. Something to keep in mind is that this was his earliest horror work, but it spans dozens of chapters, so the artwork gradually improves as the series continues, with the first couple of stories showing the greatest difference in art quality. Those who've read something like Junji Ito's popular Tomie will be familiar with this sort of thing. There really is something for everyone in this series, with each story being completely different, with the exception of one recurring story which progresses here and there throughout the series. Nori's other translated work is named Fear Infection, which is also a fantastic read. I'll leave a link to read both of these series down in the description. I hope you learned something new in this video, and found something new to read. If you're one of the few who've heard of Ochazuke Nori before, let me know in the comments. I'd love to see how many people have been reading this already. If you know of an obscure horror manga author, also let me know about that, as I'm always looking for more to read and plan to do more videos like this in the future to help people find new horror manga to read. And with that, good night.